Good morning and welcome to this week's Shallow Dive of Love. As you know, I'm Jimmy D. My co-host, regular Nathan, should be here shortly. I hope he's not speeding because we wouldn't want him to get a ticket. I think he's on his way. Might have been an inside joke there. I don't know. Welcoming this week, Taylor Alexander, who is fast becoming one of my, favorite people doing stuff or trying to do stuff with blockchain. You might recognize the name from YoshiDrops and some boxes that when you opened got you some Yoshi box and some music that you could play. And I guess we met first time a couple weeks ago. We did a live before the drop show, you and I, where we sat down and talked about your music and your art. So for people who might not know, people who might be watching this back later, who don't know who is Taylor Alexander, give us the 101 version, the
Sure.
First day of class version, if you don't mind.
Well, my name is Taylor. I'm a Cancer. I like long walks on the beach, and I'm an artist. I'm a musician and fine artist. I draw with pen, and I create songs with guitar and my voice, and beatbox and mouth trumpet and whistle and some other fun mouth tricks, as I like to call them. I'm originally from the Midwest, Cincinnati, Ohio. I was out in LA for 6 years doing my thing. I predominantly perform live, but I also have 4 EPs that I've released independently since 2012. And now I'm starting to make NFTs and put stuff on the blockchain. So as Jimmy D said, we did a drop with YoshiDrops on the 17th of September to all of our members. I met up with M Blue in Austin a few weeks ago and played a show, and he recorded it live and turned that into this drop. It was I was trying to get coffee and just kind of get a face to face, and that's what ended up happening. And now we're here, and I'm super excited. And there's some new stuff to come, and I have a bunch of artwork that is yet to be seen, and some songs that have yet to be heard. And I'm excited about putting my focus here now. When I originally found out about NFTs, I was more thinking about it with my art, and then once I realized that it could be music too, my mind was blown. That's when I met about and found out about M Blue, and yeah, it's just been a wild ride since March, and couldn't be more happy about it.
Very cool. And that's a new thing that we do on this show, is we get the guests to introduce themselves before Nathan shows up, just so that they don't like side rail. But he's on his way. I've got word that he's racing down the back gravel road to his house. He'll be here soon. Just hold on. So the first drop that you did on the blockchain ever, how did you feel about it? I mean, it's not something that you were necessarily thinking about doing when you picked up a guitar that, one fine afternoon way so long ago and decided to become a professional musician, right? I actually encourage you all to go back and watch the original interview that Taylor and I did, because he gives the whole backstory of like where he came from, and I think that's a really interesting story. But I don't want to hash that out too much this time, but I want to know, like, how did it feel to be like an NFT musician, I guess?
Dude, it's weird. When this whole thing has been a very wild ride, but to answer the question, it's something that I could have never expected, and those are always the best things. I think I dreamed of doing art and music as my full-time job long before it ever became a reality, and I just love it. And so I did it for that reason for a long time before I ever even thought about it as a career choice or a career path. And having the crazy start in the music industry with like I did with a band with my sister, and her being on MTV, which was this another crazy thing that was unexpected that ended up being an awesome thing and making it seem real for somebody like me who was able to see that firsthand. For anybody that doesn't know, my sister was on a show on MTV called Taking the Stage in 2009. She went to the same creative performing arts school as Nick Lachey from 98 Degrees here in Cincinnati, and that's kind of what springboarded us into the music industry 10 years ago. But even before that, you know, I loved to, well, first I love to listen to music, and I love to learn all the lyrics to my favorite songs. And it's just one of those things that I can't really believe that it's real. And I never really saw it coming. So now that it's here and I realize the potential of it, I'm trying to do as much and as best as I can. And my hat's off to the Yoshi team for the way that they did the first drop, because I was like, I know that those are pretty good performances, you know, but other than that, I don't really know what you're going to do, but I do trust you. And it's awesome to be a part of a team like that. I've been doing a lot of stuff on my own, and so it's been just an overwhelmingly positive experience, in short.
Yeah, those guys are stellar. I mean, Blue, and you know, the guys who put together the drop, they always do a really good job. So I'm just the media guy, you know. But yeah, I think Nathan's here. Let's let him in. We could leave him sit in the back room, but I don't want to make him feel lonely. Might feel like he's sitting in the back of a police car. I don't know.
Hello? Am I here? Hi, I'm here. Hey, what's up? How's everybody doing? Sorry it's late.
Doing good.
You look awesome, Taylor, as usual.
Thanks,
Jimmy, get some coffee. I'm just kidding. I love you. You look great too.
No, I got some coffee.
I
was explaining to Taylor, like, yeah, I woke up to like, I woke up to like, you know, this like little issue that I had to resolve. And when I say like a little issue, I mean like something that like most of the world wouldn't even pay any attention to. And just hearing Taylor talk, it's like, it's funny the things that annoy me now, right? Like,
dude, we should start out with my favorite segment then. Jimmy,
yeah,
what do you hate?
Right, I don't hate, but actually, I do actually have one. But like,
I know you do.
Like, I kind of hate that I'm being annoyed by little things that I would never be annoyed by before. Like, this is how lucky we are to live in this world where we get to interview amazing people like Taylor, or like look at like new up and coming NFTs. And like, we're not perfect. Sometimes we make mistakes. Like, I confused two NFTs. And I was sleeping.
Show up for my own show on time.
Right. I was sleeping and I woke up and I'm like, oh man, like I can't believe I did that. Like, I was like, but now I'll just do this. And like, that's what annoys me these days, which is really funny because like what annoys most people is way worse than that, right? So
you're in a good place if that's where, you know, I mean, not to minimize your suffering or what's annoying you or what you're going through, but at the same time, I mean, if that's kind of what you're contending with, that's a positive thing in general. I mean, it's not like you're fighting for survival or getting slapped in the face when you walk out of your apartment every morning, or
well, and we've had this like, you know, conversation. I've had this conversation independently with you and with Taylor, right? Like, you know, Taylor, for those of you that don't know, like he actually is a musician. He didn't just wake up one day and decide,
very good musician,
like NFT music,
very
right?
Good
like
one.
He used to make a living traveling around playing music, right?
Still do.
And so like when, you know, the pandemic hit, you were like, oh shit, I can't do this anymore, right? And then I'm sure you were way more than annoyed. So,
yeah.
But then you like poured it into this whole new thing, right? So,
yeah, I mean, what was the biggest change in terms of like your lifestyle? I know that a lot of people I know that are in that scene, like touring around, doing stuff. Like a lot of my friends are artists and musicians, first of all. Like, so it's not like I know intimately what you're dealing with, but I hear stories, and I know how challenging this was for a lot of people. It's not just your revenue stream, but it's the interaction that you get. It's the fulfillment that you get out of performing your art to people and trying to like move them. Like this is, we're doing magic here, you know, like if we're doing art and music. So with all that in mind, like what was the most challenging aspect? I mean, I know it's tempting to say the money, but it can't possibly just be the money. It has to go so much deeper for you, knowing how talented you are.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like, it was something I never thought could ever happen, you know? I was like, oh, well, regardless, we'll always have shows, you know? And that turned out not to be true. but it was also, for me, it was everything that I had built, and not everything, but a lot of what I'd worked for and built up in LA, all kind of like a sandcastle got washed away with how things went down. And it was quick, you know, it happened in 1 week. I had a residency in Santa Monica on the Promenade that had happened through the winter, that was getting ready to be springtime and then into summer. And I had 2 other live and like interactive things that were happening regularly. And because of some clerical errors and stuff that went down with the state of California, like I ended up having to abandon my entire life there. So for me, it ended up kind of being everything. But because of that, I was able to recalibrate and rethink how and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And part of the reason why I left is so that I could continue to play shows, because I realized that in California it wasn't going to come back anytime soon, because it went away there first. So in part, I sought refuge in Ohio because I knew I would be able to work there sooner. And I played my first shows last year in August, and then it's played at least monthly, a couple times a month since then, which I'm very grateful for.
That's amazing. What's your favorite part of Ohio, by the way? I have family in Belpre, Ohio, which is a very small town. It's on the edge of Parkersburg, West Virginia. They literally live like almost under the bridge. So it's like very good. Yes, I've been to Ohio like my whole life. What's your favorite area? What's your area, by the way?
I'm in
Cincinnati. I love Columbus.
Cincinnati's my hometown where I grew up.
Nice.
I grew up in the suburbs, and my family lives in the city now. And I love my city. I loved representing it when I was in LA. I love just what we're about. You know, we're hardworking, friendly, loving people, and we have all the things that you would need from a big city here: great food, professional sports, which are 2 of my favorite hobbies. And some of my cousins live here, and so I'm so grateful that I had a place to go in leaving LA, and then I had a place to go home to. And I'm very anxious to get back out on the road and to travel more and to play more and do what I was doing more before the pandemic, and really more like 2018, 2019, 2017, I was more on the road. And so I'm just looking forward to what the next chapter is. And I'm so grateful for, although it's been the most challenging thing I've ever had to go through, and mentally just put me in a very dark place for a while, you know, but I've found my way out of it. And NFTs has been one of the ways that has happened for me, because I realized that there's another outlet for all this work I've been doing. And I'm just so grateful to have found it and to found the community and found you guys. And it was all to lead to this next thing, you know. So I could
be wrong, but I think that M Blue, when he left LA way back in the day, he ended up in Ohio too. So maybe we need to change the sign, like the state sign that says, you know, welcome to the state where people go when they leave LA.
Yeah, I think he might have gone to Oregon, but it's still an O state.
You're right. Yeah, it could have been Oregon actually. Now that you're right, but
those are the only 3 options.
But it's interesting, because I think like that happens to a lot of people, right? Like it's not. I mean, yeah, we give people shit who are famous all the time, right? Like we say, like, what, you can't take the time to, like, you know, answer my questions or like placate to your fans, which is like 90% of everything that they do. You know, the other 10% is like fighting off the paparazzi, obviously. But like, it's the people it's the people, and then we laugh at the people who, I can't believe I'm referencing this, but we laugh at the people who don't make it, who think that they have a chance, but they really had no chance at all, just because, you know, they're looking at it from a different way.
It's so messed up to laugh too, because like people are genuinely expressing themselves. I could never stand that. Like, I don't know. It's like when people boo at something. It's like you just don't have to say anything.
But I'm not a fan, but like there's whole shows that revolve around this concept, right? Like American Idol, for example, right? Like they revolve around like these people who have these misdiagnosed dreams that they'll never get. And I'll just leave it there. Anyway.
Delusions of grandeur.
But then you have these like real life artists who, you know, tried to make a go at it in a certain place and probably failed multiple times before they figured out that like they needed to change course. What's that famous Einstein quote, right? Like doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results is absolutely nuts. And I think a lot of these artists who musicians who I've talked to who have actually showed up in LA to try to like grind it out and make a living out of it, like maybe like 0.01% actually are able to do it there. It's actually leaving LA that like sparks your career because you've got that experience of like grinding through and disappointment. I could be completely wrong. I've never
rejection is so good for creative
in
stuff.
LA, but
you're right.
Yes. So I'm just kind of curious, when you got back to Oregon, like to Ohio, like what was it? Like, what was your state of mind? Were you just like, oh shit, like I just did the most crazy thing in LA, and now like I've learned more, or did you like? Yeah, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff. Like now I know. I mean, it was incredibly validating for me as an artist, and to be able to go out there and hang and to be able to. I was always trying to do something different too. You know, I ran sound and I booked and I hosted. And I worked in cannabis for a while, and I worked on a farm, and I started a podcast. I did all these different things. I sold hats for a long time, which was my favorite side gig. I did all these things in my California adventure, and they all were adding to. I'm just always trying to learn new stuff and to pursue the things that I'm curious about. And it was the best place ever for me for that. But I was pissed when I had to leave, and I didn't want to, and it all got essentially got taken away because of somebody who had the seemingly the power, you know, and I was very angry for a very long. I still am, you know. Yeah. It's messed up, but at the same time, it's like it was clear to me that staying there was even more foolish, you know, like for me personally, you know, like I was like right away, I was like, okay, what's next, you know, like, but I do mourn the way that it happened, because I don't believe it had to happen that way. And I don't want to get into politics or anything like that, but it was just disappointing the way that it went down in my situation there. I know I'm not alone in having a situation like that, but to answer your question, I was really very angry. Yeah.
For every artist that left, what was it? I think I heard this somewhere. For every artist that leaves like LA, or every actor that leaves LA disappointed, there's like 10 more that stayed and were even more disappointed, right? Like,
you see those people. You see them, yeah. Right. Yeah. And going back, I went back a couple weeks ago to play some shows, and it was an awesome experience. I love it. Like I love all of California. I saw so much of the state, but I particularly love LA and love Southern California. And I'll always go back and visit there and think of my time more fondly than of the unfortunate end. But yeah, I'm so grateful for have spent the time there. I don't think I would have ever. I don't ever really want to live in New York. And for me, at the time when I wanted to branch out, I was like, I got to test myself, and it's either New York or LA. And I'm glad that I chose LA because I really do love the city. There's so much about it that is fantastic and gets a bad rap a lot of times, because unless you really live there, it's hard to get a real authentic taste of what the city's like. So
yeah, is there
I will stick up for it in that regard.
Is there like a challenge? Because I'm from the Chicago area, and we have a pretty bad rap, but it's amazing. If you've ever been there, you know it seems great, unless you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, obviously. But like generally, that can happen anywhere, right? And it's like, was there this thing being from the Midwest where like there was a shock at first, or is it like, you know, did you feel yourself at odds in any way with like the LA mindset, the lifestyle, the culture there, being from like, you know, the cozy, cold Midwest, or did you just kind of blossom there?
I mean, I traveled a lot before I moved there, and I was 27 when I moved to LA, so I was young, but I wasn't like super young, you know. So
yeah, you weren't still like naive.
I was still very naive. Don't get me wrong.
All right.
But I never lived in a giant metropolitan city where I like the international pulse of the world is there. Like I never lived in a city like that. But I felt like I prepared myself as well as I could have. I never felt like I was shocked by anything. I felt actually a lot of my Midwesternness helped me, because I was just kind of genuine nice to everybody and that people found it refreshing. And I was like, I don't understand why that's refreshing to you, but okay. Like, if it's going to get me a gig, I'll take it.
It gets you ahead. It genuinely gets you ahead in life if you're good to people.
How they are. Be like, hey, how are you? And they'd be like, oh my God, thanks for asking.
You care? You give a shit?
I ask everybody how they are. It takes like 2 seconds. Like,
it's like no time.
I'm glad that you're excited by that, I guess. So I found little things like that. I also got a pass because I was a musician in LA, and most people are actors. So they'd be like, oh, cool, you're not an actor. So you seem like an actor. I'd be like, thanks. Like, yeah, I don't know what that means, but so like stuff like that. And I also found an awesome singer-songwriter community and met so many cool people from all walks of life, and being a musician got me into so many rooms and places that I wouldn't normally get to go, and things I got to experience. It was just such I think of it more of a fun challenge than anything where I was like at odds. But I also got really lucky in a lot of instances.
I can imagine that. Sorry, I can imagine that conversation. Oh, you're a musician. I didn't know musicians sold hats too. I thought that was just actors.
What was it that drew to the hat lifestyle? You know? You just like hats? Like, why is that your favorite job, by the way? I wanted to ask. Didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah. So I waited tables for a long time. I did that road for a little bit, my early 20s, and it was the first job I got in LA, but it led to me meeting my longtime girlfriend, so it was all worth it. But one day I sped up and I walked out, and don't do that, but sometimes you got to.
Kind of leads to some good stuff sometimes.
I got fed up and I walked out one day, and literally the next day on Craigslist I saw a job for hat sales associate, and I was like, I love hats. I could sell hats. I can sell anything. So I applied, and it was near my neighborhood, and I actually walked in, and I applied online, and I walked in and I introduced myself, and I was like, hey, I'm Taylor. I just applied online, and the person who I met happened to be the manager. And 2 days later, I was hired, and then I sold hats for 2 years. I became the assistant shopkeeper, and my girlfriend and I's hat collection swelled to an ungodly amount, and my hat game became elevated and forever on point. So
your hat game is like untouchable.
I mean, I got what I need, you know. So and for me, which a guy wore hats even before I was bald, it was like that's one less thing I got to worry about. So
I'll be there eventually. Don't even worry, man. I'm gonna find hats at some point soon, I'm sure. Like,
I can help you. I'm a certified haberdasher. Is the good
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, there's a term. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Haberdasher.
Yeah. And there's a hat for everybody too. Everybody that's listening, there's a hat for you. If you don't think you're a hat person, DM me. We can work through it together.
Challenge accepted.
I always wear pink hats.
So I have never worn a hat. I don't hate hats. I don't hate people who wear hats. I just don't like hats. I want to be like the cool guy that wears a hat. But every time I put on a hat, the best case scenario when I put on a hat, I look like one of the guys from Clockwork Orange, and that's the best case scenario, right? Like that's
a great scenario. That's a great scenario.
That's terrifying. Knowing his personality for him to see himself that way.
One day soon we'll all be together and we'll all be suited up for some sort of premiere or something. And the hat it's the ultimate accessory, so it's all about what you're wearing with it. And I will hat you up, and I will prove to you that there's a hat for everybody.
It's like this headband. Like if I was naked, this headband wouldn't really, it wouldn't really stand out, or it wouldn't have much gravitas.
The headband works. I love it. It reminds me of like Andre Agassi.
Thank you. I love Andre Agassi. Pete Sampras too. I'm not gonna sell him out.
Totally.
He's also good. They had a lot of good battles. But
totally. Gotta love the Dead shirt too. My boy John Mayer is touring with him now and showing.
He's a vicious guitarist. Yeah. People don't give him the guitar credit he deserves. They're just like, oh, he's a good singer. It's like you guys are missing the entire point of like who John Mayer is.
Singing's his worst attribute. He's a better songwriter and a better guitar player.
He's amazing. Yeah,
he's a great singer too. Don't get me wrong. But
he's a good singer.
I was like, I want to do that, and I've been following his musical lead, not necessarily personality wise, but I do think he's a funny guy.
You got sort of like a Jason Mraz musical vibe mixed with sort of like the John Mayer thing I've noticed. Like, cause you can kind of like you're very versatile, but you're doing different shit. Like you're not like staying in one lane. You're maneuvering, you're doing some things with your voice, you're tapping on your guitar, you're doing all kinds of stuff, man. So I really appreciate that. Is there anything that we haven't seen yet that you're going to drop into our like NFT world that you've been doing out there that like would probably shock us? Or, I mean,
yeah. So the drop that we had on YoshiDrops was a completely solo acoustic one take song. So nobody's heard what it sounds like with my full live solo setup, and nobody's heard with a full band yet. So those are down the line things that I'd like to implement. I'm really excited about just like the solo live thing, because that's what I spend the most of my time doing. And I have this vocal effects pedal essentially that creates just a different element to it. And so that's something that hasn't been seen, but I don't know how we're going to break that out. We might have to debut it in maybe on stage on the Discord and Yoshi, or maybe on a live thing like this. I don't know. I'd have to do like more of an audio check beforehand, but
Jimmy has an event eventually.
Well, yeah.
Supposed to talk about it. I'm not even performing it. Maybe you'd fit in there too.
Speaking of debuts, I don't know. I don't think it's the right platform for you to debut that one on.
Just saying.
I just want to throw this out there because you guys are, I think, both going to partake. And it's not really my event.
I partake.
I just had the opportunity to know some people who want to showcase some YoshiDrops artists. And so over, I guess at the end of the month, on the 29th to the 31st, there's going to be this Metaverse live music concert where they're going to go through a bunch of different, venues in the Crypto Voxels Metaverse. And a bunch of different people are going to be singing. And so we're going to kind of get a co-branding on some friends of ours over there at .gems to have a stage and a setup. And I believe that Nathan is going to do a little bit of a performance and maybe hang out and dance with his avatar or something.
We'll be doing a little rapping and singing and guitar playing for people.
Yeah, we've got the Nasty Hooks, who are comedians of a whole nother brand. They're going to come out and do something. And I think, Taylor, you're going to do a performance or two and probably maybe even do some emceeing for us over there and talk and answer some questions and things like that. We haven't quite worked out the details. I'm not sure if they'll be with us or not, but another artist series of artists that YoshiDrops has supported is Jax on Wax. You might notice that from some of the drops. They're also going to be involved, but I think they might be like on a different stage and a different time. And we're also looking at, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Oxymorons, we haven't had confirmation from them yet, but they did a new drop on YoshiDrops, so we're trying to get them involved to see, even if they can do something that's like pre-recorded special for that event. I think that it would be really fun. But we don't have any confirmation on the last one. But honestly, like, we don't even really need it. What we've got already is pretty stellar. So I'm pretty stoked about that, just to see what you guys pull off. So I wanted to ask another question now that we're on to this, because Nathan kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's one of my new favorite questions to ask. Especially musicians. We did that like once, and now next week my answer is going to be like, I hate this question, but anyway, it's fine.
You hated the entire Disney brand about 2 weeks ago.
I do. I still don't like the entire Disney brand. Anyway, let's not get ourselves thrown.
I'm with you. Give me some props too, and then I'm going to take it back after you respect me. So, okay, go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
No, it's all right. I only if things like this didn't happen, I wouldn't want to do this show. So the Nasty Hooks, they're comedians. If you don't know who they are. And we got to talking about that. And I said, well, I mean, you could pre-record something or you could send it over. And they said, you know what? Like, we're never going to pre-record something. They said playing live in Discord channels is hard enough. When you're a comedian, especially, this is what they told me. They said, you need that audience feedback, right? If you're just there talking to yourself, like, some people can do it. But if you're just like, so one of them is really good. They could just go and it doesn't really matter whether they're feel like they're funny or not, they just do their bit. But the other one, Bird Bones, he always says, I need that feedback. If I don't have that feedback, things are weird, like it doesn't resonate. So I'm kind of curious, right, like with you, because I guess it's not that much of a step to jump from like a studio into the NFT world. Like it's very similar, right? But like, how does that, because you're a live musician, and I know a lot of live musicians, that's what they excel at. Even if they put out studio albums, they always feel like that's a little bit subpar, because it's when they're live that they get to feed off of the aura of the crowd. They might change it up. They might throw some new chords in here. They might like totally at the last minute mix something up if the crowd is upbeat or downbeat, like throw a new song in there. So I'm kind of curious, like, A, have you ever done like a show, you know, in the metaverse or on YouTube or anything like this? And B, like, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for doing that kind of stuff?
So yeah, I jumped on the Yoshi Discord yesterday for the first time and played like 5 songs, and it was so fun. And the couple other guys had been on there before me, and Yoshi was on there making a beat live, and so I was listening, and I kind of got inspired, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I jumped on there, and it was fun. I uniquely have a ton of experience in that, because one of the wild things I did when I was in LA is I had this live streaming job in 2016, where I was basically like streaming live, playing music like 40 hours a week. And so I did that for like 6 months, and it was wild because I get like super bored. So I just started like playing my records and like harmonizing, and that's how I developed my mouth trumpet like idea and like skill set. And I've also done I did a So Far Sounds show, which is a very intimate live show organization that's all over the world. I did one of their shows in VR when I was in LA too. So I kind of did a virtual reality show, but it was through a VR company in partnership with this live music company. And I have done it. I did a couple virtual shows over the pandemic. It's super hard. It's super awkward. The only reason that I'm able to do it and comfortable is because I had all this awkward practice with that job that I had. And even then, it still is just like, I have to go to my tried and true stuff that I know that is, I've played in front of an audience 1,000 times. So I know that it's going to work because I've done it. It's tested. But starting out that way, and especially comedy, I'm a huge fan of comedy. I study it. It's near impossible on the Zoom because it's all about that audience. And that's the difference, I think, in live music and comedy, is that in comedy, it's absolutely essential that an audience is there. And in music, if you practice enough, you can get by. But it's still always better to have that in the room, face-to-face live interaction. But I've gotten decent at faking it. Due to weird
they're both
practice,
forms of magic too. Like those are two things where you can, like, if you know how to perform your song correctly, you can make somebody cry. Right? You can make them cry. That's kind of weird. Like just your music, like you're just doing something like, from your brain to your fingertips, your mouth, boom. Their body is having a chemical reaction. That's insane. And then comedy, like comedy's the same. It's another form of magic. I can make you laugh until you hurt, until you just want to leave the room. Even like that's crazy. That's almost it's almost like some like really ticklish form of violence or something. Like, I don't even know what to call it.
How do you do that without an instrument? Like I don't understand how you do the magic without the guitar. That's my.
It's insane.
That's the way I think about it. But.
Have you ever thought about like getting into the stand-up realm? It's something I've always considered, and it's terrifying, but it's probably not much different.
Yeah, another wild thing. I've always kind of taken a stand-up's approach to my music career. I was in a band early on, and I've kind of been solo for about going on 13 years pretty consistently, because I realized that if I was able to work hard enough and be able to get a set that was entertaining enough, I could do it that way. And it's the only thing that's made it economically viable for me. And so I'm grateful for that approach. But another crazy thing I did in LA was I went on a stand-up comedy tour with my friend, shout out to Rajiv Satyal at Funny Indian, another Cincinnati native. He and I did a 18-city tour in 2017 where he basically did a one-man show about music, and I was his sidekick. And I played live and hit cues on Spotify, and we toured the country. And so I technically co-headlined a stand-up comedy tour, even though I was doing music. But I still think about it all the time. But I also am more of just a fan, because it's something that I kind of understand, but I'm not in that world. I still love songwriting. I'm a musician, you know, and as much as I would like to maybe try my hand at that, I do realize that it's it's a 10-year pursuit, even if you're comfortable being on stage. So I don't know that I'll ever do it, but
you gotta do the Tenacious D thing.
I mean, I have that's something I've dabbled with in my past as well. So I'm not opposed to that at all. Not opposed to that at all.
Can you do any Tenacious D cover songs? What's your favorite cover, by the way? I'm jumping around.
I love Tenacious D. I used to cover Tribute, and Wonder Boy.
Oh,
and
I love Wonder Boy.
Fucker Gently, which was the most hilarious song I've ever heard.
It's on my playlist, actually.
Yeah.
You don't always. I don't want to say the words. I don't know what's gonna happen on here.
All right. I'm sorry if we're not.
No, it's cool. Jimmy says some crazy offensive things. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, so I also have some buddies. Like I have another friend of mine who's a guitar comic, and he's in the game. Shout out to Luke Knoll. I'd love to bring him in here somehow, some way. But yeah, all that stuff. I love Lonely Island. But to answer your question, my favorite song to cover jumps around a lot. But right now it is I did this on the stream yesterday. You've Got a Friend in Me by Randy Newman from Toy Story.
I like that. Randy Newman's good. He gets overlooked a lot, actually.
It's a fun song to play, and I feel like it's true. You do have a friend in me. So.
I feel like we're friends.
Yeah, I kind of want to say that too. And I'm going to, I don't know. I kind of feel like true friends steal from one another. And I'm going to steal from you.
Only lighters.
Right?
Yeah.
Dave and I started this show for artists who are, kind of trying to do or make a name for themselves in the NFT business. That's kind of the premise. But I mean, like you said, I think, if you're a person who is really good at selling hats and you really know what hats are like, then you can probably sell a hat to just about anyone. And so I think Nathan and I on this show, we'd be more than willing to have people who, don't know about NFTs and have them come on, even with somebody like yourself. And I heard that there might be rumors that you're going to do your own show as well. We'll just leave it at that.
I've heard that stuff too. I've actually heard that.
But I think this is a really good way to introduce people to the business of NFTs, like artists, musicians, like these types of people who, might not know the power that NFTs and especially have to enable them, right? Like one of my favorite concepts again is oops, sorry, I get excited, and when I get excited, the room moves.
I do that too. I go forward and back. I'll get up in here and say something, and then I'll recede.
Yeah, it's like a rumble pack.
Ever since my first interview with anyone who ever did an NFT that was a music thing that isn't a friend of mine, right? And I think that was the time that I might have met Nathan as well. I can't quite remember, but it was D from the Oxymorons came and joined us on our stream. And we had a 3-hour conversation basically about, what NFTs mean to them. And they are in live performance type of people, right? And it's just amazing. They had never known about NFTs before. They came into YoshiDrops. They kind of figured it out. We had so many crazy conversations that day. And to this day after, what are the potentials of NFTs? Imagine instead of buying a ticket to go to a show to see Taylor Alexander, you buy an NFT. And that NFT might entitle you to a live drop, or that NFT will actually double as a music video. And only you could buy the music video if you wanted, and you could leave an empty seat at the club. But what happens if it's your entrance pass? So I'm just kind of curious. Maybe you don't even want to tell us because maybe it's not a good thing to talk about. But we want to release some of these things first. But what is it about the NFT space for musicians in particular that really speaks to you? What opportunities does this offer? Whether it's an established artist or an up and coming artist, what is it that really drives the point home that this is the way forward in a sense?
I mean, I think the one word answer is ownership, creative control, an ability to, in my opinion, the way I look at it, is ability to make what we should be making, ability to make what our art is worth. It's been devalued down to fractions of a penny based on the perpetual nature of the business, which has been to exploit the artist all the way back to the 1830s. This marks the first time in history of any art, but especially music, where the artists have an opportunity to own their stuff forever and to make money off of it in perpetuity. So for that, I think it's everything. I mean, every day I'm trying to explain it and to talk about it and like work on my quote unquote pitch, so I can try to make it as easy to explain as possible. Because the more I learn, the more I realize that the utility is a blank slate. You know, we have the opportunity to mold it and figure out how it works for us. And I think that it's an amazing blessing that we're alive in this time and era to have that opportunity. And I'm looking forward to educating not only other musicians, but the public, so that they can understand the raw deal that we've been getting, and we can move forward in a new direction. Because just like you said, music is our common language outside of, it's getting harder and harder to use language to communicate anyways. And we need music to sort through all this crap, you know? And so for me, it started as a little glimpse and the light at the end of a tunnel, and it was a very dark time. And now I'm realizing that it's a completely wide open and exciting new frontier, essentially. And I want to bring as many people that I know deserve a shot on board that are capable of being open to it, because it is a bit of a learning curve. But I think that once people understand, hey, this is actually designed, everybody's conditioned to have it be designed to screw them over. And this is actually the direct opposite of that, and has been built to sustain that long term. So that's what it is for me. And I love the idea of it being, the NFT being a ticket, but also you can buy an NFT that gets you into a virtual realm, so that we can have people tune in both ways, and that can become commonplace. And then afterwards you can divvy up the performance and sell it, so that we can, instead of selling merch, you can own a piece of your favorite song of that you heard that night, whether you were there or you saw it on the live stream. Like redesigning the different ways that we can monetize this and find new value is just wild. You know?
Yeah, do you feel a responsibility to that? Like to your fellow artists? Sorry, Jimmy. Do you feel like a responsibility to your fellow artists to spread the knowledge? Because I do. I feel like when I meet like another visual artist or a musician in person, it almost feels like a sin if I don't like mention that there's this technology that can help you. You know, it's kind of.
I'm telling everybody.
Yeah, same here.
Ever since I found out about it, I've been telling everybody. First thing I did was call up everybody I know. I was like, has anybody else heard of this? I was one of the first people in my circle to find out about it. And shout out to Gary V from TikTok. I was like, what's this guy talking about? And then I was like, oh, snap. And then I was like, what's happening? And then 3 weeks later, Beeple sold that NFT, and then everybody heard about it. And I was like, see, I told you. Everybody was like, even my therapist today was like, ever since you told me, I keep hearing everybody talk about it. I was like, I don't know what that means, but
I got my therapist into NFTs too. we go to talk about my issues, and then it ends up like I teach him how to do like some investing, some NFT stuff. It's kind of funny, man.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful, helping each other out, man.
Yeah, it's good. They all want our knowledge.
I felt that sense of duty, but long before NFTs, though. Like, I want to be the person that I needed coming up. I feel like there's far too much of a predatory music industry, and not one that's actually trying to help the ones who have done the work, you know. And it's such a noble occupation, and one that is so necessary, and it's one of the only ones that there isn't a straight path to being able to make a livable wage. And I'd like to change that.
So let me finish this before you yell at me, but because I think I have something here. It might
don't start me. I will yell at you.
Yeah, right. So I like every musician needs a label. All right, just wait, wait. Look back at the days where, like, you know, as far back as the Grateful Dead, the T-shirt that you have, right? Look at Fish as another great example. Look at Dave Matthews, right? for the most part, they
Food
are, you know, festival musicians who are going in there, who are playing things. And the only thing the label ever picked up was live at Red Rocks, right? Like nothing else was ever picked up and put on a DVD or put on a CD. So this idea that every musician needs a label is being turned completely on its head and rendered inert by the fact that now we have NFTs. With NFTs, now every musician can be their own label. And the fact that, like, you know, the Grateful Dead and the, Fish, or some of these like festival concert live musicians were going out there and almost in a way like encouraging people, but like, you know, to have these bootlegs of these songs that they would just go off on these crazy riffs. Now what happens when that bootleg is actually, you know, produced by the musician at the venue, and that is the thing that gets released, right? Of course, people can still stand in the back room with their, you know, phone, but that's a pirated copy, and pirated copies are no longer cool anymore because what? You're going to go to 10 different concerts and you're not going to support the musicians that you're like going to watch, right? So again, like, thank you for letting me finish. But the point is, we're in this really interesting scenario now where no musician necessarily needs a label. Some might want it. Like there might still be a place where, you know, some of these independent labels are helping them do things or connecting them with people, but it's not a necessity, right? You don't have to stand in a lineup for 5 years, outside of a label office, hoping that today is the day that they listen to your music. You can go out there, you can create this yourself, and maybe they might recognize it or maybe they won't, but it doesn't really matter. You're kind of empowered to be able to do whatever you want to do. You don't have to, like, you know, stand in the queue and wait for somebody else to take that under their wing for you to be able to, you know, if that makes sense.
For sure. You see it a lot on TikTok now. People like just putting out original catchy pop music that's getting a lot of attention, and they don't need the label because their talent is standing out, you know?
Yeah, that's the one thing though. It's like maybe what will happen is the labels will be redefined and what their role is. Unfortunately, they've always been run by non-music people who are controlling and exploiting the artist. This is the difference, is that now this is going to be run by artists and musicians. We have the opportunity to protect and own our craft. And that's what comedy is doing right now. That's why comedy is thriving. Excuse me. But to further explain my point, comedians have podcasts, they have the structured setup of the comedy clubs, and they have Netflix as distribution options now, and they're in control of it. Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan and Mark Maron, they're protecting the craft, and they're leading the audience to say, hey, these people are funny, these people are worthy of your time if you're a fan of comedy. And there's no reason why music can't be the same thing. And NFTs bring a whole new element to that, and it's possible in both realms. And that's what I'm really excited about, is helping hone that future.
Who's your favorite comedian? Mine was, I have two, Patrice O'Neill and Greg Giraldo. Rest in peace to both.
Well, both of them, man. My first favorite comic is also deceased, Mitch Hedberg.
Oh man, so good.
And I'm a huge Stephen Lynch fan. He's a guitar comic from the '90s and early 2000s. Adam Sandler is one of my favorite comics.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Oh no, it's all good, man. I've got to ask you a few like kind of questions on that same level, like just preference wise. Like I listen to every kind of music you would imagine, but I love the acoustic vibe. I take two people at the end of the opposite spectrum musically. They're still using a guitar, like India RE and then like James Taylor, for instance. And it's like, who do you like better? Like I like India RE personally, but it's like, that's such a tough decision. Like, A, who's your favorite out of those two? And then B, like, what's your toughest comparison in that genre?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm named after James Taylor.
Oh wow,
that's where my Taylor comes from. My dad is
that's amazing, man.
Singer, songwriter, musician, and that's where my Taylor comes from. So I've grown up listening to James. He's he's my namesake and one of my idols. Mark Cohn is my songwriting hero too. I'm a big fan of his. I try to shout him out as much as possible because He's one of the best
Shout out
that not a lot of
Marco.
people know about. Walking in Memphis was his biggest hit. A lot of people
I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got all the feels. So I'd have to side with James on that, but I love indie RE, R&B, and the blues are in my soul. I didn't choose that. It's just part of who I am. So I always wanted to be a hybrid of like Justin Timberlake, Prince, and John Mayer. That was kind of always what I looked at as like Justin Timberlake from a vocal standpoint, John Mayer is a songwriter and guitar player, Prince is a guitar player and a performer. But I just love all of those guys. Their grooves are undeniable.
Yeah.
But who I really am and the stuff that I grew up with is the chill acoustic stuff. That's really what I love to make and where I reside. But I'm thinking about getting an electric again because I came out.
I've been doing a little bit. So. It feels good, man. It's just so easy. Like when you're used to playing an acoustic and your fingers are used to like holding down like the weight of those strings. Like I feel like I'm like flying when I play an electric guitar.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
I miss it. It's been like 7 years since I really dug in. So I think maybe in the future there'll be an electric version of something. Who knows? But.
Oh yeah. Jimmy, I know that you're itching to ask something. I've seen you resist like twice, I feel like.
No. I'm okay. I'm
okay. I want to make sure.
No, I enjoyed this side of it because like I'm not a musician. There's a reason why. Sure. I like music. But
everybody, you have music in you, Jimmy. That's the problem. That's what you're missing.
I do. Yeah, I like.
You sing in the shower?
I'm a big connoisseur. I sing with my daughter. And I'm pretty good at like I can make up songs that actually like rhyme and make sense on the fly, but like it's not necessarily music. It's more like rhyming.
Can you freestyle? Can you do a little freestyle for us?
No, it's not gonna happen. Someday when you and I are sitting around a campfire, like someday when you and I are sitting around a campfire, and I've had like
I'll shock you, dude.
Two lights of two little cups of sake, then you might hear it. But yeah,
no,
I'm not the type of person.
I'll hold you to that.
Me too. I want to hear that, man.
For sure. It'll be fun. But yeah, I like it. Like I like the potential, right? Like I always think about. I mean, I guess there were a lot of. There was a lot of ability for crossovers like in the past, right? With these music festivals, you would have someone like, Bob Dylan walk onto the stage with Neil Young and like they were at the same music festival and it's like nobody asked permission. They just kind of did it. But we live in this world where, the people who own Marvel, for example, can't use Spider-Man because some other company owns it, right? And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens because we're kind of going back the other way now where everyone's kind of going to own their own stuff. And like some of these music producers who haven't had the chance to work with other people can now work with them because they're going to be more independent, right? And I just think I'm really excited to see all of this. And I don't know, like listening to you guys talk about what there was in the past, that might be like a golden age of history that like is perfect in the sense that it, was, but we went too far, right? And as always, we go too far, and the NFTs might just be the way that we can potentially roll that back, right? Like, yeah. I know, like Taylor, the way that you met M Blue was pretty amazing, right? And like you just reached out to him, and you guys started hanging out. He loved your stuff, and now like you coordinated this whole big drop. And like M Blue, Corey, basically met M Blue in a very similar way. He did a hack of M Blue's I'm Not the Bubble. My Bitcoin Bull song, which became I'm Not the Bubble. We know another guy that took one of Corey's songs and put like drum beats behind it. This can all be done like digitized, right? You never have to meet people, right? Like I've never met you guys. I don't know who's taller. I don't really care. But I'm just saying, 6'4". Like it's weird. Yeah, you're taller. Anyway, but it's really
much taller.
I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, yes.
It's really weird to think about that. Like all of our friends are like online and stuff like that. So there's gonna be a day where it's like, holy shit! Like, hey, look, we're in this random city, in the U.S., we're walking down the street and we see this big billboard sign that says, live tonight, Taylor Alexander. And I'm going to look at my mate and I'm going to be like, holy shit, I own a Taylor Look at this. There's a Taylor Alexander like NFT that he's like
an OG
right?
one too. Like
yeah.
From like when NFTs were just getting going.
Get you guys in for free.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really exciting, right? Like, do you think, so I guess my question is, do you think that the spread of music in particular, but art as well, because for those of you that don't know, please go to humananimals.com, because Taylor's also a pretty interesting artist. He's got his own like total style.
We definitely have to touch on that if we have time.
Yeah. He's going to hold it up.
Yes.
That's awesome. It's so good.
So when we were just getting to know each other originally, like I seen his artwork, it's like, my God, this dude can like actually do like physical art, plus, he's a talented musician. I don't know. I'm just happy that people have like this array of talents on display, because a lot of people need to see that you should just keep going. And like, you don't know where you're going to end up, but that's probably how you got here, is like, even when you don't want to practice, you practice. You don't want to sing, you sing. You probably want to, but it's all about going.
No, there's been so many gigs I didn't want to go to that I went to. Because once I get there, I love it. But it's just like, that's the discipline part. And I haven't gone to 100% gigs. I've canceled gigs. I've not been productive. Like the drawing stuff I always did on the side. It wasn't until live music went away that I doubled down, and I was like, well, I guess I'll draw if I can't play shows, because I didn't know how long it was going to go at first. I didn't know it was going to be a year and a half before people would be able to play shows in Cali. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I just instinctively did it because it's what I do, and I'm scared, I guess. So, but then afterwards I had this whole collection, and I was like, well, maybe I'm an artist, and it can mean a bunch of different things for me, and I don't have to worry about staying in my lane or doing that. I just do what feels good and do what I want to do, and that's really what being an artist is all about. Jimmy, you're talking about the label.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, right? Like, because I've rarely met an artist that does one thing, right? Like most artists, they're like the Michael Jordans. They can play basketball and they can play a little bit of baseball. But like when he quits basketball to play baseball, people get upset because they're like, no, you don't belong here. Go back over to the basketball. Right? Yeah. Right. But like NFTs, I think allow, people to dabble in different things. Right. And it's funny because I don't know if I should even say this, but I see you and Nathan in a similar place, coming from different directions, right? Like Taylor, traditionally you're a musician, but you're really talented when it comes to art, right? So you're a musician who's dabbled in art. And I think, Nathan, if you haven't seen his stuff, it's really amazing. Like he's an amazing artist, but he also dabbles in music, right? And so like you have like all of these things that like are kind of coming together in this confluence, right? And you have these people who are going to be known for one certain thing, but allows them to implement something else into their aura of what they're putting out there to the world. And how do you think this will affect like individuals' creativity on the whole? And I guess both of you can kind of answer that question, maybe like.
Well, hopefully, I mean, I think a lot of what we're talking about and a lot of what where the issues lie are that it's controlled by people who can't make the art, and the industry is based on a bunch of people that are involved that have nothing to do with the product itself. And that's how when things get difficult and things get murky and tough to manage. And there isn't any incentive in a corporate setting to get an authentic artist that is going to bounce all over the place. You got to keep your product. You got to stay in line. You got to be in this genre for us to sell this and make our quarterly growth. And that's the completely opposite innate way of how art is created and how artists function. We have to be free. We have to be able to flow. We have to be able to think about. Neil deGrasse Tyson said this. We have to have time to be unproductive so that the ideas can come to us. We can't be productive all the time. That zaps creativity like that. So like there has to be. If you want great art, you have to trust the people that have proven that they can create it, and then let them go. And when that happened in music, it was in the 60s and 70s, and in somewhere in the 80s, and we had the most vibrant. It was the most amazing time in music of all time. And there's no reason why that can't happen again. And there's no reason why it can't be 10 times better this time, because we have a global digital stage and a digital space and a way that we can be protected monetarily, which is the main thing. So I think it's going to take, who knows how long it's going to take, but it's going to be those who understand that can pivot, that are going to benefit from it, and those that continue to stick to what the old assumption of how you get it done is, will have to navigate that space. But I plan to continue to do both, and I'm very grateful to have figured out even a small part of this out at this point. I keep saying it, but I really don't know how it happened, other than I was just spent way more time online than I ever had before. But,
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Nathan? I don't know. I kind of stole the answer there. Sorry.
No, it's awesome. I wanted you to be able to like really express it, and I appreciate you sharing that. I know it's kind of like one of those things that's, it's probably personal and unique to each different artist. For me, just having any opportunity to share like what I'm trying to share with the world is like, I'm very grateful for that. I think a lot of us feel essentially a responsibility to take what God, the universe, whatever we want to call that force, it's kind of driving us or propelling us, or at least even just giving us a little push when we need it, whatever that is. Like, a lot of us feel a responsibility to get that energy out there in the world before it's too late. I have a good friend who was saying, his friend, who's a musician that you would definitely know, and I just don't want to put it out there and name drop, but like, he's saying there's a very small window of opportunity in life to get these things through, and even if you hit it just right, I mean, it's still like, you might not fit all the way in perfectly. Like, it's going to be a little struggle to get in there. So I think there's just an extreme responsibility to shove ourselves through that damn window every day, no matter what the price. If you have to get fired from your job because you're relentlessly creative, that's a good thing in some ways. Somebody's going to love that about you. If you have to just like not be productive all day so that you can be relentlessly creative, that's a good thing too in its own right. Somebody's going to pay for that. I mean, people want what we have to offer as creatives. Like you said, a lot of people at the top aren't the people making the art, and a lot of them admittedly can't or just don't even want to, And I've always thought it was weird to have a situation where the people that are like helping create the beauty and the substance, like they're being like essentially told to worship the person who is taking from them. It's like if God asked you to, if God was praying to you, you'd be like, this is kind of weird. And it's a weird comparison, but if we're creating a thing that has value,
I agree.
Yeah, it should be sacred, at least enough to where they don't have to worship it, but they should respect it. And when it becomes all about money, I get real grossed out, because like, I'll live in my car.
Every other culture has. This is the only culture that has figured out a way to not do that somehow, or to formulate it so that to create like you can eat a healthy diet, or you can eat Twinkies. Like, you're going to survive both ways, but you're probably going to have a better time if you eat a healthier diet than if you eat crap. And the same goes for ingesting art and music, like, we need a certain quality of it to be able to get what we need from it, which is it's a vital role in our survival as the human race, I believe.
Yeah, and creativity is a very clean burning fuel. It's like, it doesn't have much byproduct that's negative, as long as it's just being done from the heart. It's like, it's self-propelled, and it's driven in a lot of ways, like in the same way that crypto and blockchain, all these, it's like, do you find value in something? Then it's valuable. Does this work for you? Does it provide you something in your life? Is it like really just hitting that spot? Now it's priceless. So like, it's difficult for me to negotiate things that are priceless with people who are concerned with the price. It's like, and that's like one of the issues I have with business and art and music, is we're offering something that really can't be bought, and they're telling you what it's worth. And it's sacrilege almost.
And they're saying you shouldn't be compensated for it.
No, it's crazy, man. And but people like us that aren't afraid to like stand up for it and doing it in the right manner, you know, like we're showing love and respect. We're not like getting crazy about it, but just being honest and saying like, hey, this isn't right. And we expect better, you know.
Yeah.
It's important, man.
Totally. And I'm happy to tout that message, because it was a hard pill for me to swallow and for me to figure out, but I learned it in my journey. I'm like, you know what? Well, it's okay that this is the way that it is, but at least we know the way that it is. And so many don't even understand that. And I feel like that's where the work that needs to be done lies right now, is that re-education. And I can't think of a better way to re-educate and to get people excited than this NFT space. So that's why I'm eternally grateful to be here. And it's like, just like I said earlier, it's like one of those things where I knew I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted to be able to, you know, not necessarily shepherd, but like be like, hey, all of my great creative friends who deserve to be heard and to be seen and to be listened to, like, come with me, you know. Like I always wanted to do that, and I've tried many different ways and failed and succeeded in different levels, but this is very exciting to me in a much larger scale than anything that I imagined before.
Yeah, there's a magnitude to it. It has gravity.
Yeah.
It has a very interesting like mass. Like it's like it attracts things. It's massive enough to pull things into itself, you know. Kind of like a planet's atmosphere. Like there's this attraction. But like I think that we all have access to this creative force too. Like Jimmy's like, I'm not a musician. But there's this like it's not like real, but it's very real at the same time. There's this like invisible layer of like creative thought stream up here somewhere. Like, I don't know where it is, whatever, but it's out there, right? And things will kind of pass by, a little thought fish with somebody here, a little guy here. Like, that's a good idea, or that's a hit song, or that's a beautiful image right there, right?
Oh man, like
if you don't grab it, though, Jimmy, if you don't grab it, someone else is gonna pop up with the same song, the same image, the same idea.
I'm ridiculously creative. Like I'm really out there. I think most of you have figured this out by now, right? It's just like I have no way of like the shit that, because I see things, man. I see things and I hear things. But I have no
staying all the way over there.
Right? I have no way to get those things that I see or that I hear like down here, right? And so like I think that that's a talent that you guys and a lot of these artists have tapped into, right? Like I can't play guitar, but like I hear songs in my head, which is nuts, right? And it's not that ambulance siren, but
the Beatles wouldn't be the Beatles without like Phil Spector, for instance,
right? And I mean, like there's
a lot of people that aren't like musicians, quote unquote, like out there, or like they don't think they're creatives. I mean, this is a much different case, but like I'm just saying, man.
Well, and there's a lot of people that like play music that like wouldn't be, how do I say this? There's a lot of people that play music or sing songs that wouldn't be like even a third as popular as they are, or maybe even less, without like the producers that are helping them put that out there in the world, right? Like, so there's different levels, right? And like, I mean, unlike, you know,
a lot of people can't actually do what it sounds like they're doing.
Right, exactly.
yeah. I mean, most
people yell at Milli Vanilli, but it happens a lot.
You should have just been like, hey. People lip sync sometimes.
But and like to go back to my question earlier, that's my greatest thing that I think that this NFT can bring to the space, especially when it comes to music. I think that it puts everyone on their own playing field, right? Like I think that it gives ownership back to the creator. Whether that creator be somebody who's rounding up the next boy band and bringing them all together and sitting in a studio and mixing their voices and directing them, like if all the person is doing is singing a song, then they don't deserve to get the whole profit from that drop, right? But if the person is like Taylor, where they're doing everything, then they deserve to get the 100% drop. So I think it brings the spectrum back, right? It's not an all or nothing, right? Like we're not throwing out the musicians who can do everything, because there's like musicians out there that need a label, right? Like what we're doing is we're valuing people on what they create. We're valuing people on their talents, their abilities. And there's a whole spectrum, right? Like a really
because labels at the end of the day are marketing arms. They're just these big marketing machines and distribution machines. So you don't have to actually necessarily have talent as long as you're very marketable.
Well, yeah, and now that's all that it's boiled down to. They look at your socials and they look at how much they can exploit you, if they can follow the Taylor Swift model or not, and to what extent. Unless you already have a fan base, in which case then you have a different kind of scenario. But all of that is just a formula that has been that model is 70 years old. You know, it's almost older than that. Like it's like we've evolved past that, and like in every other job, you should be based on your performance. And music in particular is one of the only jobs where you're not judged on your performance at all. In fact,
I mean, oddly enough, though, that's not true. Like, think about how many businesses operate on that exact same model, right? We don't value creativity in the world, right? You work at a supermarket. What you can't build a pyramid out of oranges. It needs to be a square, right? Like this is what we do. Like this is, and so
an orange square would never stand up. By the way, Jimmy, it needs
right. I know, but.
I'm sorry.
I get it.
I think of it what you just said, and I just see oranges flying all over the grocery store, and I'm freaking out a little bit.
Have you been into a supermarket recently? It's freaking chaos, man. It's absolute chaos. It's just
not here. It's serene. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but like you know, it's funny because I'm not an artist. I'm not a musician, but listening to you guys talk about being artists and being musicians and all the things that you're saying, it 100% resonates with my real life. I come back every single day being frustrated, you know, from my real life job, for the fact that, like, you know, we're not valuing creativity, like in the educational system. We're not valuing any of these things. And it's like, you know, basically you know, it's funny because I came home the other day and I got in trouble because I'll tell the story because I just think it's hilarious. But I got in trouble the other day because I had a bunch of kids standing up at the front of the classroom, and we were teaching them, like, you know, more, because one of my jobs is teaching English as a second language. So I was teaching them more, you know, and ER. And so I said, oh, which student is taller, right? I was very careful. I didn't ask which student was shorter, but I asked which student is taller. And then I asked, okay, which person out of all the people who are standing, myself included, which person is the most beautiful? And somebody said some student's name there, and I said, no, I am the most beautiful. James is the most beautiful. What is wrong with you, right? One parent, one student complained that I shouldn't be comparing one student's beauty against another student's beauty. And I'm like, really? Like, this is what
we're all flowers, Jimmy.
What our takeaway is, right? And so we're at this point now where the majority of people who, in my personal opinion, the majority of people who are going through educational systems to get jobs aren't able to utilize their full potential. It doesn't matter whether you're an artist or whether you're a real world person or not. I mean, the only possible way to utilize your full potential is in a country like the United States. I can't believe I'm saying this, but is in a country like the United States that still values entrepreneurship, right? Like, but this disintegrating like into the mix, right? And I think that potentially artists and musicians can be at the forefront of bringing all of this back, right? Because why would you look across the street and see, like, you know, a musician who's like living their dreams and then want to stay stuck in an office job knowing that you're going to work there until you're 75 years old, right? And there's plenty of offices that are going to pop up that are going to start to value people's creativity less about like the run of the mill. This is how you become successful too. Oh yeah,
you can't become Jimmy Buffett if you start off as old as Jimmy Buffett.
Right, exactly.
I think that's already that's happening.
Yeah,
I think that is happening. I think people are seeing that. I think people are seeing it. I mean, I think that TikTok's a huge driver of that. Like,
totally.
I find it wildly entertaining and educational. You know, like, and I think that people are realizing, hey, I think the pandemic was a huge factor in that as well. Being like, hey, you know what, that job I had really did suck. There are other things that I'd rather be doing. Maybe I can start a cookie shop, or maybe I can sell these crochets as NFT. You know what I mean? Like there's like a million different people I think are starting to think outside the bun, for lack of a better term, and starting to. I mean, I think that that's already happening. I think that it's hopefully we continue that trend, because I think it would make for a happier and just overwhelmingly more positive world.
And I do want to bring up what Morton says, because Morton, you're right. Like some people aren't lucky enough to not be in a 9 to 5 every day, which is 100% true.
I've been there, dude.
But what I need from the world is I need an education system that values people over productivity. That's what I need. I need an education system that teaches people to seek out a job, even if it's not working, that teaches people to seek out a job that can value their worth, right? And even if you're not that smart, or you don't have the education to back you up, there is no reason to be treated like shit at a supermarket because some, guy who, graduated, school a few years and went to like a 2-year business college, deems that you're worthless. Right. So that's, I think, and again, this is
just because he orders the potatoes, he gets to boss me around. Like
everyone has their benefits and their bonuses. Right. And I just want an education system that, I want an education system that stops teaching people that they're special and starts encouraging them to do special things. That's what I want, right? Like you shouldn't be entitled to anything just because you exist, but what you should be entitled to is respect and the ability to learn how to maximize your talents, whatever they are. And maybe I'm living. Maybe
what it is that you like to do. Right.
Like, maybe I'm living on a cloud. I don't know. I could be a Care Bear. We don't know what's under this shirt. This isn't the show for it. But
I saw that image of you in the tub.
Right.
I think you put it in Telegram one day.
I might have. Yeah.
I seen it.
I
seen it, Jimmy.
I have my moments.
Hairy man. Which brings me to my next question. What's your favorite animal, Taylor?
Ooh, that's a great one.
You like the segue?
Jimmy knows. I asked him that last time we talked.
Oh no!
So my favorite animal is it's actually my self-portrait that I did for the YoshiDrops for the song Dream Boy. It's an otter. Sea otter is my favorite animal. Yeah.
That's a cute animal.
I'm also a big fan of polar bears. I like polar bears a lot too.
I like polar bears. My parents live like 2 miles from the North Carolina State Zoo. And they have a big polar bear there. You can actually hear elephants from their property sometimes. It's kind of cool. Right. And they have a big otter exhibit and a giant polar bear the size of a minivan. It looks like a Mazda MPV, if you know what that is from back in the day.
Nice.
It's about the same dimensions. It's interesting.
River otters are cool too. I don't discriminate. They can be freshwater sea otter.
you don't. It's funny. Like I can just imagine somebody that's like, I don't really like the freshwater varieties of otter. Like who's out there saying that? It's so crazy.
Just to specify. But Jimmy, to touch back on what you were saying, I think that's possible. I don't know what that looks like or how we do that. I mean, I know that my grandma taught music, and my grandpa was an educator as well, and I know they taught in a different time period, but they also one thing that my grandma taught me was she taught me how to be curious and how to learn about how to go after things that I was interested in, and that stayed with me longer than anything that I learned in school. And so maybe if we can figure out a way to teach kids how to do that, we could get that ball rolling, and they can. I don't know how you change a broken system, but maybe we can.
No, I don't know either, man.
The minds and try to circumvent it the same way NFTs are circumventing it. Who knows? Maybe kids learn a completely different way moving on, like in the future. I don't know, but
our education system is a prearranged marriage to the broken structures of society. That's what it is. Right. That's all it is, right? And so if we can redefine people,
a T-shirt,
right?
Like a black T-shirt with white print, it would say Jimmy D and little.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if we can redefine people through music and art and other things and enable them, that's awesome. But I think we need to know what Nathan's favorite animal is, because I'm kind of curious. I like that question.
Have you ever heard of a kiwi?
Of course.
It's a type of bird. It's like a flightless bird. They're very cute.
They're an Aussie bird, right?
Yeah, they're kind of they just like tilt one direction. They start running. That's my favorite animal. For now, though, it could change tomorrow.
They have a really long beak.
Yeah.
They're
like anteaters, sort of. They're like an aardvark, but without wings. So
what comes first? Do they tilt first and then they have to run so they don't fall over, or do they run and tilt? Because
they tilt first, so they're kind of like round at the base. So I feel like no matter how they tilt, like it's sort of like a ball, like on feet, right? It just like rotates, so, perfect center balance still, and then just action. I know it's a weird vision. My brain's weird, but that's how I see it.
I really like
your brain probably works in 3D in ways that I don't understand.
Dude, like I swear, so when I was a little kid, I talked about this, I think like the other week. I got hit in the head really bad when I was a kid, and I was like kind of like a smart kid, like type of thing. And then after that, I was like the creative kid. So like I don't know, like I think it's like weird, like you know that story about like Roseanne supposedly, where she got hit by the car, and like,
Sam Kinison too.
Sam Kinison. So it's like a small version of that. So like instead of like English, math, I'm just like drawing music. I got off easy. I got super easy because I don't have like a ton of stuff. I mean, I'm not feeling like a lot of like weird head injury type stuff, but
certainly like that is a thing. Like you could definitely get concussed and then come out on the other side.
It flips something
different.
Dude. Yeah. Like people speak French all of a sudden sometimes.
I thought about that recently. I definitely got knocked out a couple times. Like I got knocked out unconscious twice. Like so I don't know if that has. I don't know if I'm more of a risk taker because of that, or if
I trained to be a fighter for 10 years almost, and I've gotten knocked out, bro. Like for sure.
Yeah.
I've gotten choked out, knocked out, you name it, kicked in the face.
Did you like MMA stuff, or did you do like boxing?
So I did a lot of MMA, but my specialty, I love Dutch style kickboxing, but Muay Thai is more popular. So I did a lot of Muay Thai, but I wrestled in high school, did like, karate as a kid, all this stuff. And just Brazilian jiu-jitsu as an adult, Kali, like so stick and knife fighting, and like honestly anything. So like I did a little Jeet Kune Do. Kickboxing was a ton. I wanted to be a pro kickboxer. I wanted to be in Glory kickboxing.
Cool.
Yeah, so I wanted to like just not even do the MMA stuff and just like, even though I wrestled in high school, so it would have been a little smarter to just stick with the plan.
Yeah. That's it. I don't know a lot about that world. I'm getting into it and kind of just looking into like taking some like beginner classes and some of that stuff just for fun. I like other art. Like maybe I like martial art. So that's about as much as I thought about it. So
try it. Cool. Watch your brain. Make sure you don't get hit. Like you're not getting smashed in the face. Like
I'm not trying to compete or anything. I just was like maybe I was like it might be good to learn how to get choked out, and I could probably use getting choked out a couple times.
Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I could see it. Like I could see you becoming like an addict of Brazilian.
I'm afraid of that too, which is why. But I'm also concerned about hurting my hands, so I thought maybe it'd be better to like kickboxing and have gloves on.
Oh, your hands get so tired from like gripping the gi and like manipulating it and stuff, and then like, I mean, you probably don't need to build up like your calluses on your fingers anyway. But if you were, I've got some decent ones, and like
I got good hand strength because of it too. Like you said, I feel like I might be good at it, but I'm afraid because once I become obsessed with something, like I can easily go down. Well, like okay, this is what I do now. And
it's so cerebral too that you'll get obsessed with like picking it apart, and you're like, God, how did this dude? Like, how did he armbar me, or like, how did he get the rear naked, or like, what is that? Like, I don't understand. And you start like relaying like the thought process in your mind, and then you start to get a very visual memory going of like actions, like just motions.
And
and you're almost able to like kind of look back through it, and like, oh, okay, I think I pushed my leg over to this side when I should have passed it over to this side. Like small, detail things, but
it's kind of like chess with your body, right? Like in some ways a little bit. Like
I've heard Joe Rogan call it physical chess with dire consequences.
Oh yeah.
Pretty sure that's what he said. I'd say it's pretty accurate. Kickboxing is the same. There's just less. I mean, it can get real wild real quick. That's the difference. In jiu-jitsu, you have some control.
Kind of like learning some of the things, and like maybe kicking a bag will be something that would make
kickboxing classes are so chill though. Yeah, like you're not gonna get like. I mean, 99% of like places I've gone and trained, like everybody's very cool. If you go in there, I want to spar, you'll find somebody. But like, if you tell people like, hey, I don't really want to take any hits, like they get it. They're not gonna like think differently or anything. Cool. It's cool, man.
Well, you made me feel much better about that. I'll probably try it.
Just get in there. Just get in there. And it's fun. You're just like you're just playing a game, you know? Like, can I get through your defenses? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Like, that's really a game. You move here, I move there. And as long as you can understand keeping a correct distance between you and your opponent, they can't really touch you anyway. So it's like a lot of it's just going to be distance control with any situation like that.
When I was kickboxing, it was always difficult for me because I just wanted to hug people. Like, that's judo. That's not kickboxing.
I hug a lot. I hug with my low roundhouse too.
I mean, it's hard though, like, because like if somebody's like big and long and they're like, you know, hitting you, what you want to do is you want to get in close to them, right? And it's just like, hit me now, you know, and it's like
you have to get close, get kind of underneath them, and control the momentum.
It's
use maybe try to use some clinch technique. Just get their body kind of tilted downward like this instead of so straight up. That's kind of the idea in that scenario.
And I just did it for fun, just for a little while. But like, I second what Nathan says. Like, it was a really interesting experience. If you find a gym that you can go in and play around with Taylor, you'll enjoy it, even if it's only just once.
It's just like tag. You're just like,
that's what I was looking into. I found one near me, and I was like, the dude who runs it seems legit, and I was like, all right,
give it a shot. If you're hesitant, book a private session with him.
Okay, cool.
If you're hesitant, just hey, I feel like you got an hour. You can just, one-on-one. You show me the ropes. I decide if I want to do this. Just feel them out.
Word. Yeah. I also signed up for an ultimate frisbee league, which I'm super pumped about. So I'm gonna do that as well. But
I used to do some frolfing, man.
Yeah. Nice.
I used to frisbee golf my butt off. I know it's not the same, but it involves a frisbee.
It does.
Well, multiple frisbees actually.
Actually, yeah.
You got a whole bag, right?
Frisbee golf's dangerous too.
I love golf. Not a big fan of them together. I don't know what's up with that, but
I've accidentally hit a few people.
I used to go in high school with my buddies all the time, and I was like, this should make sense to me. Like I want to like this, but I don't know. Maybe I'll have to try again.
Dude, I almost decapitated my friend John with a frisbee golf disc. I was winding up, let it go. It hit him right in the neck.
That's not
like those things are very hard. I felt like such a dick. And he was standing behind me.
Yeah, they're super heavy. They're like rocks.
Right? Ugh.
It's not good, man.
So Taylor, now we know when we go frisbee golfing with Nathan.
Just stand in front of me.
We carry one of those big like shields, those big plastic shields that they use for the riots in front of us.
Exactly. Just full SWAT gear. I like my head attached to my body. If that's cool.
Right. So I wanna save some stuff for next time. And I know Taylor's got some stuff to do. Nathan's got some stuff to do. I definitely have some stuff to do. But
I have
Taylor,
to dance. I'm waiting for my nightly dancing. Actually,
fair enough.
I move around. I take this off. And I get going in here. I just start to feel the music. And I rub paint all over my body, and I start to roll my canvases. I don't do it. Sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like I really wouldn't.
I painted this the other day.
By rolling on a canvas? Wow, you can contort your body really well.
Yes. It's a contorted canvas something.
I dig it.
It's some kind of I like drawing abstract faces.
I saw that. I was thinking it's kind of like Picasso-ish. I thought it was.
Oh, thank you, man.
I tried to. I thought maybe I could do my humanimals on the canvas. I was like, I'll just draw on the canvas. It did not work out. I've never painted, but I want to paint. I've never tried, but
it took me like almost a year to kind of get the feeling back because I just done digital art for so long. I mean, I've like stuff all over the place. I've got supplies everywhere, And the trick is just to keep immersing yourself, learn like some basic techniques on YouTube or something, and then like just keep going for it. Honestly, it's like normal drawing or even like guitar where you can't get a tricky song. Like it took me forever to just get this concept of like leaving some white space and then having a focal point, you know? Like just that took me so long. And so it's an evolution, and just like enjoy that process. Like let it, you know, and save those first ones. Like this kind of, I don't know about this thing. And those might be the most valuable one day.
Yeah, if I was going to do it, I think I'd want to do like landscapes. I have an interest in painting. Just do something completely different. Another thing I've already done, and something I want to do more of, is I created a children's book.
Cool,
I wrote it and I illustrated it. I showed it to Blue when I met with him, and I don't know how we're going to NFTify it down the road, but I think
definitely
there's potential there too. Because I want to do a whole series of books about stuff that like maybe is a little bit harder to talk about, or subjects that parents don't know how to bring up the subject, or stuff that is more taboo, and find cute, fun ways to bring up those subjects. And so that's another passion project down the line that I'd like to do. But I'll send you guys the first one that I did when we jump off here, or sometime soon, to show you. But
that'd be awesome. And I mean, like,
I want to check it out.
Japan kind of excels at those types of like homegrown educational things, right? Like there's some weird stuff that like educational companies are putting out there that like in the West we might think like that's really bizarre, but it's really good to be able to teach kids, you know, perspective basically. You know, like I won't go into it, but there's some weird ones out there, you know, talking about children's bodies and things like that we would never ever think to put out there in the world. But you know, these are big things.
I had a weird like cartoon book about like the birds and the bees question and like puberty. And stuff
that's
that my parents gave me. That
nobody wants to talk about that.
These naked people, and it was awesome. I loved it. Like I still like I remember it to this day. Like, you know, there's I think there's a bunch of different things that maybe we haven't tried yet, or things that we will be able to try now, and with this new opportunity. And so
we can learn a lot from our hippie parents.
For sure.
Yeah, I do.
For sure.
I learned from mine for sure.
I'm excited for the day my daughter gets to learn a lot from her hippie dad. That'll be fun.
Bro, she's gonna hate everything. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be so crazy. I'm just kidding. She tells me like 100 times a day. She's like, "Daddy, bye. Daddy, bye. Daddy, bye." But the minute I come home, she's like, I can't even like it. I feel bad because I'm like, the one time I don't want to hug her is when I come home and I want to wash all the corona off my skin, right? Like, and it's like, but she's like, you know, coming in for the big hug, and it's like, it's pretty funny. Like, oh no, this is a risky hug.
Right. So just to shout out Taylor once again, definitely go over to YoshiDrops.com or over to Atomic Hub, and you can find the collection. Definitely worth listening to. You get some Yoshi bucks on the side, which there's some interesting things coming out as well. Also, I've dropped it up in the comments a little bit earlier. Go on over to the YoshiDrops Discord channel, and in the left-hand menu, if you scroll down, there's actually a stage. And if you're lucky enough, you happen to be online, you'll hear Yoshi spinning some beats. He does it once daily, I think. And like Taylor said, you know, he was in there, he was listening, he wanted to jump in and play some music. So there's some pretty cool stuff happening.
We got some stuff happening with that too. There's gonna be some announcements soon based on some of the live things that we've been doing in there. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
And that's like next week, Nathan and I will be back with Ken Bozak. We're going to be talking to him. Definitely like and subscribe to this channel down here. Pay attention, because I've personally got some really cool interviews coming up this week, provided I can wake up. We've got our regular show with Corey, doing some interesting NFT projects. We've got our second edition of Mr. Linney, Austin Linney, who is kind of a mind coach. And I actually have a top secret interview on Thursday at 2 p.m.
You're not going to say who it is?
Over on the Jenner EOS Spotlight channel, which I host with Dan Larmer, in anticipation of
Wait,
the upcoming Dan Larmer in
the
anticipation
Michael Jordan of programming.
right. In anticipation of the up and coming Eden episode for podcast that I host over on the Gen Pool, not this channel, the Gen Pool Network. So I'm pretty excited about that. So please come out and support. We're going to talk to him about his book and some really interesting things. So yeah, that's it for us today. Thank you very much, and we'll all talk to you next week, and hopefully see you guys around, a different part of town.
Thanks for having us, guys. It was great hanging with you. Hopefully I can come back and do it soon, and we'll be making many more shows together.
Let's get it on. Let's do it. That was Mills Lane.